The fighters of the Charlie drone unit of the 14th Separate Regiment of the Ukrainian Armed Forces and the 15th Artillery Reconnaissance Brigade, Cherny Les, have intercepted and struck the combat equipment and manpower of the occupying Russian army in Donetsk region. The artillery and drone strikes destroyed the command headquarters vehicle, the Putler anti-aircraft missile system worth $25 million, the Bucha M3 anti-aircraft missile system worth $40 to $50 million, and the S-300 anti-aircraft missile system worth $150 million, as well as the occupying soldiers in the area.
Putin is used to projecting the image of a strong leader in wars in Chechnya, Georgia or Syria. But this time with Ukraine, the usual scenario is failing. Despite the propaganda images of parades and demonstrations of unity with China, the reality is this: Russia is stuck in a war that is turning into an economic and political dead end. As foreign policy writes, the strategic advantage is gradually shifting to Ukraine. The Russian military cannot advance despite massive losses, and Russia's strategic position has not improved since the invasion began in 2022. Putin has no way out of this war except to admit some form of defeat. Putin cannot hide the signs of a weakened economy as effectively, and he cannot offer the Russian people any clear political future other than endless Putinism. Slowly but irreversibly, Russia is starting to lose this war. The Kremlin's main problem is its inability to advance effectively. Despite local successes and the capture of individual areas, the advance of Russian troops has slowed, and the fighting has been going on for 3 years now. Fierce battles continue in the occupied territories, and strategic goals remain elusive. Putin faces a dilemma: either admit failure or continue to lose resources and people. Experts estimate that Russia has lost about 790,000 people since the start of the war, including the wounded and missing. By the end of 2025, this figure could exceed 1 million. Unlike Syria and Georgia, Ukraine continues to hit Russia hard in response despite the enormous destruction and casualties. Instead of the expected split in the face of Russian pressure, Ukrainian society has come together. Morale is high, and battlefield innovations are helping to offset the enemy's numerical advantage. Putin's plan to make Ukraine submissive has not worked. On the contrary, the brutal attacks on civilian infrastructure have only strengthened the resistance. The West continues to support Kiev, and Russia's attempts to break European unity and persuade the United States to leave the conflict have failed. Russia is also failing in its attempts to achieve a diplomatic breakthrough. Putin's obsession with the war in Ukraine has turned into an economic disaster. Military spending has overburdened the budget, and the war boom effect has ended. GDP growth has stalled, real inflation is approaching 20%, and falling oil and gas prices threaten to destroy the foundations of the Russian economy. International sanctions continue to weigh on the economy. Consumption is falling, and Russians are beginning to wonder whether the war is worth the price. Putin asks Russians to trust him on the war, but the public mood is beginning to change. The country is sinking into apathy, and repressive measures are not enough to stop the growing discontent. The system of power built on absolute control is turning against the dictator. If the war is lost, there is no one else to blame. Putin has already begun to speak cautiously about a successor. as if he understands that his bet on the war has been disastrous. Russia faces a choice: continue the senseless bloodshed or seek a way out by admitting defeat. As Michael Kimmage points out in Foreign Policy, the war in Ukraine has become a strategic trap for Putin. Autocratic methods do not work in a protracted conflict, and economic collapse is an increasingly real threat. Russia is losing not only on the battlefield, but also on the diplomatic stage, losing support even from its allies. The Atesh partisan movement conducted reconnaissance on Saponorska Street in Balaklava district in temporarily occupied Crimea. It is reported that the occupying forces have converted a former radiation, chemical and biological defense facility into an ammunition storage site. According to Atesh, the facility's camouflage is of a high standard. From the outside, the area looks abandoned, featuring metal hangars, some of which are open, giving the impression of unused spaces. Photos from the site, provided by the movement's agents, confirm this. Civilian vehicles and personnel are reportedly present in the area. However, detailed reconnaissance has revealed that Russians are deliberately using the site for ammunition storage, with guards stationed only at strategic observation posts to control the perimeter. All gathered information was promptly handed over to representatives of the Defense Forces of Ukraine for further analysis and action. The statement reads, "This means that the base will soon be hit by the Ukrainian army." Earlier, media reported that Russian occupiers had removed key equipment from the military unit in Sevastopol. The report indicates that the unit's grounds are nearly empty. Much of the equipment has been withdrawn, leaving only minimal assets on site. Thanks to the work of the movement's agents, it was learned that there were civilian women and old women left at the site to clean up. Judging by the photos, there is almost no military equipment. Just a few new Gaz and Kamaz vehicles remain on site. Agents of the movement observed a few remaining soldiers positioned in the tower and on elevated terrain. The Atesh movement believes equipment shortages at the front have forced the redeployment of remaining vehicles to different areas. Ukrainian partisans continue to work in all occupied territories, including Crimea. They promptly relay information to the Defense Forces of Ukraine. Recall, on May the 16th, drones of the Security Service of Ukraine hit the ammunition depots of the 126th Separate Guards Brigade of the Russian Coastal Defense near Perevalny in Crimea. Perevalny is home to boxes for storing military equipment, weapons and fuel and lubricants. The SBU continues to work effectively on legitimate military targets in the territory of the Russian-occupied Crimea. The work on weakening the enemy's military capabilities will continue, said an SBU source.